The real estate market is heating up, and with it, multiple offers. For buyers, that can be scary. For sellers, that can be exciting, but it can also be scary. Sit tight and I'll tell you all about multiple offers next up on Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour. Hi everyone, I'm David Taylor. Welcome to Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour. So today we're going to talk about multiple offers. Multiple offers is basically when more than one offer is submitted on a property. And we are seeing this all over the country, but especially in certain aspects of the Chicago real estate market right now. And basically it's just a function of an imbalance between supply and demand. There's a lot more demand, more buyers than there are homes out there for sale, more supply. So right now we have this imbalance, which means that for every great home that is priced right, there may be 2 offers, there may be 20 offers. And we're going to talk about both the good news and the bad news that goes along with that, because there's good and bad in almost everything, right? So if you're a buyer, you may be feeling the frustration of sitting on pins and needles, waiting for a home to come on the market. You call your agent, hopefully that might be me, and you rush out and take a look at a home. You walk through it, you're like, oh, this is fantastic, I love it, let's make an offer. Your agent, me, picks up the phone or texts the agent and says, hey, we were going to make an offer, and he or she says, that's great, I already have 2 offers already, and I'm expecting 2 more by 5 p.m. You're like, true story. This happened today. So my clients and I, we made an offer, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did in order to make our offer, hopefully, the most attractive offer. Okay? So, and then on the flip side, we're going to talk about this from the seller's perspective, because there is risk involved with multiple offers on the seller side. Okay, so I'm going to use real numbers from today. So this is a single-family home in Chicago on the northwest side, and new on the market yesterday. We scheduled the appointment today. We walked through at 12 noon, and my clients liked it enough so that they wanted to make an offer. We went back home, their respective home and my respective home, and we talked on the phone and decided, okay, the home is priced at $515, which seemed like a fair price, not too high, not too low, but we know that based upon the fact that there's lots of demand, that it was going to sell for more than $515. So the question really is how much more is it going to sell for? So we ended up putting together an offer for $525,000. And we added in there a couple of things that we hope is going to make it more attractive to the seller. Okay, so these are things when we're talking about a multiple offer situation. Usually, but not always, it is about the money. So sometimes the seller is like, "Oh no, I want to sell it to the sweet little family, or I want to sell it to whatever." Most of the time it is about the money. So we focus on that, but we also focus on the intangibles. So what is the seller's situation? In this case, the house is vacant, so we know that the seller is looking for a fairly quick closing, so we're ready to close in 4 weeks. We looked at another home actually at 11:30 that had already had another offer on it, and we knew from the listing agent that the money was definitely important, but what was also important was the fact that they would like to close and then rent back the house for a month, do a lease back. Something that isn't very common, but something that was important to the sellers, and it's something my buyers could have accommodated if they decided that that was the house for them. So when I talk to other agents, I want to find out, what's going on with your seller, why are they moving, what's important, and is there anything that's important that we can then work into the offer. So a lease back could have been something, but in this case, the house was vacant, so we know that the sellers have moved on. They're paying a mortgage, or they're certainly paying taxes, homeowners insurance, and the sooner they can sell the house, the better off financially they're going to be. So 4-week closing, not uncommon, and that's what we put in the contract. Another thing that is important to sellers is earnest money. So typically in Chicago, earnest money is anywhere from 3% to 5% of the purchase price. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, kind of depends upon the price of the home. So in this case, we opted to put the earnest money at the higher end of that range. Now, as a buyer, and it doesn't matter whether it's a multiple offer situation or not, your earnest money is protected. So, you've got the right to terminate the contract if there's anything in the contract that the attorney disapproves of. Inspection, you can terminate for that. You also need to make sure that the home appraises for the purchase price, and also that your loan gets approved. So there's ways to protect, from putting increased earnest money down. At the end of the day, if we're 3 days before closing, you decide, I don't want to buy this house, you're not going to get your earnest money back, whether or not it's 1% or 10%, assuming all the other contingencies have been met. But you're just like, I don't care. So we opted again, for quick closing date, higher earnest money. And then the other thing that we did is my clients, put in the offer as to purchase it as is, meaning that they reserve the right to get a home inspection, but they're not going to ask for any repairs. That's really attractive to a seller because they're like, this is great, barring something majorly wrong, like the house is sliding off its foundation or the roof is about to cave in, especially after the 30 inches of snow we've had over the last couple of weeks. They're going to sell this house, right? The buyer's not going to come back and ask for a bunch of piddly repairs that the seller doesn't want to make. So that is really, really attractive to the seller. Now, this house is in pretty good shape. They've done a major gut renovation on this 10 years ago. They've done a lot of other work. So, my buyers feel, and we both feel very confident that they're not getting themselves into something that is going to be a problem. I had a different client, though, who was buying a home as is, and we knew upfront what the problems were. We knew it's going to need a new furnace at some point, and we also know that there's some windows that don't work. So we factored that into the purchase price. So just as an aside. The final thing that we did that we hope is going to make this attractive is we put in an escalation clause. So an escalation clause is basically we are opening up our bid at $525,000, but we're willing to go up to a specific price, and we write that price in there. So for everybody, it's going to be different. It could be 530,000, 550,000, 600,000, whatever that number is. We agree that we will exceed the next best written and verifiable offer by X number of dollars. So if it was a $200,000 condo, we'd probably say by $1,000. If it was $1 million house, we'd probably say $10,000. We want to make it something attractive. So we've gone in here and we've made our offer knowing that there are going to be, at least 2 other offers that the seller is considering. So a total of 3 offers. There's probably going to be more. I think they have something like 16 showings this afternoon. So we are trying to make it the best possible offer that we can. My buyer's already been pre-approved, not just pre-qualified, but they've been approved by the mortgage company. So all we need to do is get an appraisal and everything is good to go. So that's really important also. So those are some things that we can do on our end as buyers in order to make our offer more attractive. There's some other things that we can do that in this case we chose not to. We could write a letter to the homeowner and try to tug at the heartstrings and talk about why this house is so important to my buyers. That's definitely one of those things that we could have also done. So the risk for my buyers is basically none. They have said this is the top price that we are willing to pay for this house. If it goes above that top price, well, I'm sad that I didn't get the house, but I'm not devastated because I don't feel like I've overpaid for the house. They are protected from overpaying by the appraisal contingency. So let's just say that the home ends up selling for $535,000. My buyers are the winning buyers. We get an appraisal and it comes in at $485,000 or $505,000. My buyers aren't obligated to purchase the home for that price. The seller They may choose to reduce the price to that, or they may say, we're going to go back to buyer number two or buyer number three. Um, but my buyers are not going to overpay for the house based upon that appraisal. So again, those are just some of the strategies. With the as is, if you're buying a house as is, you still get an inspection. So if we do come in and we say, oh my God, the roof is about to collapse, or the house is sliding off the foundation, or it has all these problems we didn't know about, we just terminate the contract and we move on. Buyers get their earnest money back, sellers go off to offer number two, number three, whatever the case may be, and they just move on. So buyers are totally protected, and this is just some of the strategies that we like to use. Now let's talk about risk for sellers. The risk for buyers is, okay, I'm paying more than the advertised list price of the house. The risk for sellers is, we know based upon all the historical data that we have been looking at for the last 18 years that I've been selling real estate, a home sells for the most amount of money in the first 7 days. It doesn't matter whether or not it's boom times like we have today, or the last 5 years, or the recession that we had, a dozen years ago, or the boom market that we had before that. A home sells for the most amount of money in the first 7 days. And if you accept an offer from a buyer in a multiple offer situation, you want to make sure that it is the right offer. What does that mean? You want to make sure that that financing is just nailed down, that it is good, that they have been pre-approved instead of just pre-qualified. You want to make sure that there aren't going to be inspection issues. So accepting an offer from somebody who agrees to buy the home as is more preferable to accepting an offer from somebody who might have an extra $5,000, but they're going to come back and ask for repairs. Quick closing, later closing, those are all things that are important. But those are the two main ones. You put yourself at risk as a seller if you accept more money from somebody, but they're not a good, well-qualified buyer. And that's sometimes where the reputation of the agent comes in also. If this is somebody that just sells one or two homes a year and isn't really out and active in the marketplace, they may not have the reputation of being somebody who's only bringing qualified buyers and is going to make sure that the deal gets done. So that's something that I look for, when I'm looking at multiple offers. Is this a well-qualified buyer? The money is always going to be important, but what are the intangibles? How much money are they putting down as earnest money? How much skin are they going to have in the game? Those are the things that are important, because if the buyer terminates the contract, or the loan doesn't get approved, or the appraisal comes in low, then we're looking at a minimum 5 days, but probably more likely, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month later, where all of a sudden we get the email or the phone call or the text message saying contracts being terminated on the buyer's end because of this, and the seller is pulling out their hair because they've lost a month of market time. All the buyers that made that initial offer, the other 2, 3, or 30 offers that may come in on a property, those buyers have all moved on. They have almost all found a new home, and it's going back on the market. And the buyer is going to be wondering, well, what happened? You had multiple offers. Why did this terminate? What's the problem? And that is where the risk comes in, because you may say, okay, great, I thought I was going to get $575,000 for this house that was listed at $515,000. Next thing you know, you end up selling it for $535,000 when you had 3 other legitimate offers that were better offers and more better buyers, more qualified to buy something at the $535,000, $555,000, whatever that number is. So hopefully I've expressed to you both the benefits and the risk. There are both, whether or not you're a buyer or a seller. Sellers, I think a lot of times they think, wow, multiple offers, this is great. I just want to get the most amount of money that I can for my property. And there's risk that you need to be aware of. It is not always, what's the saying? Not always roses and I don't know, there's some saying I can't remember for the life of me, but it's not always great, multiple offers. It can be nerve-wracking, and that is where having an agent that you know and trust and can work with really helps. Okay, so hopefully I have given you an overview about the perils and pitfalls as well as the benefits of multiple offers. I'm not sure that there's any real estate agent who truly loves this type of a market. From a listing agent standpoint, when you have to look at 20 different offers and review them to figure out what the best offer is, and you have to present each of those offers to your client, that's really difficult. Plus there's always the risk where we say, hey, I think you should accept offer C as opposed to offer A, B, or D, and it ends up being the wrong one. We don't like that. It's a lot better to typically get a really strong offer and know that you're going to go forward to closing. So if you have any questions, leave your questions down in the comment section below, or feel free to reach out to me via email, text, or phone, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. We have a new video every Tuesday, unless there's a snowstorm with lower temperatures that prevent us from getting that out. But for the most part, every Tuesday we have a new video. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.